Greetings, Star Warriors. Today I'm going to be doing something different because we like to do things a little bit different every now and then from time to time around here. So over the course of the last couple of weeks I have accumulated a lot of different types of visitors to my channel. And I welcome lots of different types of people to my channel to discuss Star Wars and often enough other things. But it seems that in the process of this I have accumulated some very colorful personalities, and the interactions have been interesting to say the least. I would just like to point you into the direction of a certain someone who has taken upon themselves to go on a crusade within the crusade, so to speak. And I'm just going to read off a short comment by this person here now. This is from Butchy 117. I don't know if it's a he or a she, so if I use either or term in the future, please excuse me. But I'll start and read what he said. I just can't tell if you're serious or not. There's so much BS on this, it's really hard to find any kind of real opinions. And that's the problem. If we can't trust anything that's said to us, then we just have to go with our intuition and be complete islands in the sea of sharks. Sad what has become of the world. And they're pulling the strings, pulling on those heartstrings, trying to get people at each other's throats. That's the truth. Okay, now, I would love to tell you what this is all about, but unfortunately I am just as in the dark as you are. Butchy 117 neglected to make his opinions, his intentions clear in this. I cannot decipher what any of this is pertaining to. He's unspecific and, at least to me, comes off as something of a fanatic in this post. But I would just address one of the early statements in that post and assure him and everyone else that I am generally a very serious person about everything I say on this channel. I rarely do I ever say something I do not mean. But he wasn't done. He has another post on a completely different video, I believe, where he's every bit as cryptic with everything he says. Let's see if there's any more substance to it this time. Laugh my ass off. Not even close, pal. The real reason people hate this franchise is because of the lack of ideals, the changing of the characters' personalities. No hero's journey, no duality of man. But that's no surprise, seeing how they don't believe in that. They don't believe in God or the devil. They think they're living gods. And that's the sad truth. Odd how it's always the truth with this guy. Once you study the symbolism and the occult, you will find that they have zero empathy for anyone or anything. So, suddenly I have to study the occult or symbolism to understand why Disney does what Disney does. Okay, let's carry on. They believe that the bad things just happen, and whether they cause them to happen or not is irrelevant. These heroes, quote-unquote, are always being put into situation after situation where they have to justify their evil acts. Well, I'm sorry Disney, but that's not my bag. Integrity is sold so quick these days. It's only done because of the ignorance and lack of interest, but regardless, if we want to be a strong nation, then we need strong-minded people that are full of knowledge. Making your people dumber will never make a world a better place. And if you want the karma debt on your shoulders, then keep doing business as usual, not being aware of the things you do. We are all equally to blame for this situation. It is time to change the balance. How can it be a remake if it is completely different in ideals? Now, I understood maybe 20% of what's said there, so I will try to address what I understand. And that is the last statement made. How can it be a remake if it's completely different in ideals? Which I take to mean is a response to something I might have said in the video, which seems to be one of the few responses to anything I said in the video he made here in this long paragraph. There's a such thing as plot. Whatever your religious ideas are, it just goes without saying that if you have a scene in The Empire Strikes Back where the Imperial Armada attacks the rebel base and the rebels do not stand and fight but flee, and you have the same scene happen in The Last Jedi, that you can reasonably conclude that they lifted the plot from The Empire Strikes Back for The Last Jedi. If you have a scene wherein the Imperial Armada is chasing the Millennium Falcon, a group of rebels, through space, and the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive is neutralized for the duration of that chase. And then you have the same scene in The Last Jedi, wherein the First Order Armada is chasing the Resistance fleet through space, and the Resistance fleet's hyperdrive is neutralized for the duration of that chase. That they, in fact, lifted that scene off of The Empire Strikes Back. If you have a scene wherein a prospective Jedi apprentice travels to a planet wherein she finds a recluse to train her in the Force, that she lifted that plot off of The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, let's not forget here, there have been many recluses in the Star Wars movies that trained prospective Jedi students. But let's not behave like Jedi teachers absolutely have to be recluses. It's just not the case. If they wanted to be original and they did not want to lift the plot off The Empire Strikes Back, they could have made Luke Skywalker actually have a purpose in being on Ahch-To, other than being a recluse. They could have had him be anywhere else in the galaxy, for that matter, doing anything else in the galaxy that would actually have something to do with the Resistance's conflict against the First Order. But no, they chose to go the route where he would be the Yoda character, alone on a world where he had stayed there for who knows how many years. So, I mean, I think I perhaps said enough to prove that they actually remade The Empire Strikes Back, but just in case there's any doubt. A group of rebels, a small group of rebels, flee the Imperial Order to look for help from a scoundrel-esque type character who then betrays them to the Imperial Order. That's DJ. Or is it Han and Leia? I mean, you can switch out the Empire for, or the Imperial Order for the Empire, and Resistance fighters for Rebel fighters, but same plot, same story. I mean, I've proven basically that they've lifted the plot off of The Empire Strikes Back without involving God or spiritualism in any sort of way. Whatever the ideals are that you see in Star Wars, the great thing about Star Wars is it didn't separate people according to their ideals. At least in the past. It seems to be doing that now, which is why I would actually compare what Butchy 117 is doing here to kind of very akin to what Kathleen Kennedy does with the Star Wars films. Star Wars has to, cater to me and anyone with my ideals, but no one else. If it caters to someone or if it does some catering that isn't according to my ideals, then of course it is the devil's work, right? That is a dangerous ground. But I think even Butchy 117 realizes that, at least when it pertains to other people. Because at some point he makes another statement on one of my videos, which he makes clear that where he's talking about Disney, they have is to pit fans against each other. Because the real reason these movies suck is because they don't tell the hero's journey, no allegories, no ideals. just straight propaganda. Now, he seems to realize that pitting fans against each other is a bad thing. But what Butchy seems to do is get up on a soapbox and point fingers at people in the anti-Disney movement. Now, I don't disagree with everything he said there, but if you're under the impression that the only thing you have to do to make a great movie is tell the hero's journey, then you're going to be disappointed a lot in life. There are plenty of stories that tell the hero's journey that are horrendous. The hero's journey is not an automatic great movie. I'm sorry, it's just not. There's plenty that go into it, and you're gonna have, if you're gonna have a rigid worldview, you're just gonna go into a lot of movies and a lot of situations thinking they should be the way you think they should be, and when they aren't, you're gonna be disappointed. But that's kind of the problem with dealing with people who have such a rigid worldview. You know, it seems like they contradict everything you say just to be contradictory, but no, it's just they have this really rigid worldview. You know, I mean, to him you're okay as long as you believe in, I don't know, the worldview he believes in. I'm not sure exactly what religion or spiritualism he's pushing. Everything he says is very unclear, very unfocused, and hard to respond to. And so I usually would not do this to visitors to my channel, but anyone who's so willing to get up on a soapbox deserves a moment in the spotlight, I would say. I encourage comments and discussion, but Butchy doesn't really offer discussion. He makes a bold statement wherein he points a finger at Disney, and then he points a finger at you, and then he goes away. And then he comes back and he does it on a different video. And he never replies to anything you ever say to him. So I just thought I'd reply to Butchy in a video. So, hi Butchy. Nice to meet you. Feel free to make comments. Feel free to discuss things with people, actually, you know. Preaching is all well and good, but Star Wars is not just for your one worldview. It is for different people who believe different things. That was the great thing about it. It drew people together, and they each had their own individual experiences towards it. If you end up becoming an absolutist, then you're no different than Kathleen Kennedy. You know, especially if you're going to come on my channel and say I'm full of bullshit without explaining a single thing you're talking about clearly, then you're probably going to get a video made about you. I mean, just think about what you're doing for a second here. I'm one dude with a YouTube channel trying to take on Disney. I have no qualms taking on a single person. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. That's the truth. And if you're listening to this, you are in the new rebellion. 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 You are in the new rebellion.